everyone. Welcome to another Hackernoon podcast. I am Limarc, your stand-in host for the day, the gaming editor at Hackernoon, VP of Growth, general gamer, anime nerd. We're also joined by Amy Tom, Nicolas Cage's number one fan, and our regular podcast manager.
True.
Hello, Amy. And we also have Ellen DeGeneres. No, I'm just kidding. We have Ellen Stevens, our editorial assistant extraordinaire and all things newsletter at Hackernoon. Hello, Ellen.
Hello.
So this week on Planet Internet, we're talking about data privacy and also kind of the pros and cons of the way that the data market is working in the world right now. And we have a bunch of Hackernoon articles to talk about that. So let's start with the first one, which is titled, "The Most Expensive Things in Life Are Free of Charge. Protect Your Data" by Zen Chan. What did you think of this one, Ellen?
I thought this was an excellent piece because they really go into discussing how you can manage your online footprint. So all of the things that you've been sharing with different companies, different logins, etc., it really kind of dives into what you can do to sort of maybe remove some of that data from just arbitrarily existing in the world. And I think that's very valuable in this day and age. I would have liked to see a little bit more, focus on exactly what can happen when all that data is out there, because sometimes when you're signing up for different emails, different programs, different things like that, you are sharing quite a plethora of personal information. And so the more that you share that, the higher the chance of, one of those companies potentially getting hacked, having security vulnerabilities. And it really allows a hacker, whomever, to build quite a profile on a particular user. So that's one thing that maybe I would have liked to see a little bit more of. But I think they did a fantastic job with covering some of the suggestions for what you can do to minimize the data that's already out there. So one of the things they suggest is to review your online accounts and clean them up. So sometimes, for example, maybe you signed up for an email forever ago, you no longer use it. So why not close that account? Or, some app that you sign up for, why not actually go back and clean that up to make sure that that data is no longer potentially at risk? Because if it's an application you're no longer using, maybe other people are also not using it. And so the upkeep and the security that's currently present in the application might be compromised. So that's one of the things. The other thing that
what would you explain as, could you give your definition of what's a digital footprint? What would you say a digital footprint is?
I would say that it's various amounts of data that are out online about a particular person. So I think things like names, date of birth, fitness data, phone numbers, credit card numbers, your first pet name, I think is listed here.
Cool.
So things like that, yeah.
I just want to flex my Japanese knowledge a bit. This phrase, actually directly translated, means there's nothing more expensive than free stuff. Just wanted to tell you all that. I can read that. No big deal. Not a big deal.
No big deal.
Anyways, we're very impressed.
Amy, so talking about all of these things you could do to minimize your digital footprint and reduce the amount of data you have online, point blank, do you care enough to do any of this stuff? Why or why not?
It depends. If you think about the kind of data that is available online, like my name, obviously don't care. Something like my first pet's name, maybe I care a little bit more about because it's like a security answer to a question. Actually, a few months ago, I went on a date and the guy asked me what my pet's first name was, and I was like, I don't want
Relax,
to tell
buddy.
you. Yeah.
That's so random.
Yes. And so it depends on like what the kind of data is, I guess. And like, yeah, stuff like my fitness data, my weight, I don't really care. But like, you know, my credit card information, my social security number, my pet's first name, those are data points that I hold with more value, I guess. So it depends. Yeah.
What about you, Ellen? Do you care enough to do any of these methods they listed here?
I care profoundly, but I don't always do them. One of the stories that I wanted to share with respect to this article is a couple of years ago, I received a very fascinating email in my core email that I use, and the subject headline was one of my former passwords for that account. Yeah. And and so so you can do this thing when you know it's a shady email where you view the source of the email and you don't actually open the email, because sometimes if you open the email, so I viewed the source of the email to see, and it essentially was someone trying to get more information from me, threatening me, stuff like that. So what had happened is that particular email service provider had a massive security breach. And so when things like that happen, your information gets posted on the dark web. And so, so they posted, my email and then the password associated with it. So thankfully, by this point, I had changed it a number of times, but I did keep it the same for quite a while. So there's a website that you can check, but I'm not going to remember what it is right now.
I think it's called like haveibeenpwned.com or something like that.
I think so. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and it shows
that
you
seems,
the amount.
That seems very like 2000s internet-y age.
Yeah.
The most miraculous thing, though, with that particular email that I had is there were multiple security breaches associated with. Yeah.
So it was your fault.
No.
I don't think so.
Different companies that I had used to sign up. There were multiple companies that had massive security breaches. I care, but I still have like Facebook and Instagram and such things.
The exact same thing happened to me too, but like the password they said they knew was like my password from my 2001 laptop that has like no valuable data at all. So I was like, okay, go ahead, take that laptop if you want.
Have fun. Yeah. Okay.
On the subject of kind of lessening the data you put out into the world, our next article is similar. It's called Have Your Privacy Cake on Android and Eat It Too. Amy, what is this one about, and what did you think about it?
Yeah, it's about the Android privacy protocol, and honestly, I thought it was a bit confusing because it's suggesting that instead of logging into your Google account to increase the level of privacy control that you have over your Android, you can log in via something else. I think it's called Aurora Store, and then it basically works like the Google Play Store, except not, and then you don't have to connect your Google account to your Android phone. But the reason that it confused me a bit is because from everything that I have heard or know about Android security, it's like the number one thing is like don't download apps that are not from the Google Play Store. So is the trade-off worth it? I don't know. What do you think, Limarc?
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like the process this guy describes is using a different OS that's not the Android OS, and like you said, not using the Play Store but the Aurora Store. But like Google gives you that warning because, of course, they spend a lot of money to improve the cybersecurity of their specific store. So that is true in a way. But also they're cutting out the competition by saying don't download any other apps other than from our store, right? Yeah. So, like if I wanted to make one phone really private, I could see myself definitely doing this. But it depends, because if I want to use Facebook or YouTube or any product that requires Google sign-in on that phone, then I can't anymore. Yeah. So maybe like if I had a company or whatever and I wanted to give all my employees work phones, maybe I might create a system like this where they don't give Google any of their data and we use kind of limited apps. But for my personal day-to-day usage, I don't think I care enough to do such a thing. What about you, Ellen? Would you wipe all of the Google apps from your phone like this?
So, in an ideal world, I'm, a very firm believer in using encrypted email services and applications. And there are companies out there who specialize actually in this. So instead of relying on Google for the majority of a company's sort of functionality, there are options out there that are encrypted. If I was setting something up, that would be something that would be at the top of my list to do. Right now, it is what it is. I do, however, use an iPhone, so this doesn't.
I see. It doesn't apply to you.
You're not in the Android club.
Yeah. Wow.
No. What I appreciated the most about this article, though, is that as it describes like what you need to do, it also says that you need to create a work profile for it in case you need like certain Google account things. So you create like a faux profile, but every time they mention the word work, it's in quotes. So it's your work apps.
Yeah. For sure.
Wink, wink.
I think I've heard Apple iOS has a bit better security than Android, so maybe Ellen's winning if she's team iPhone. But I'm never gonna go back to team iPhone. Like I can't imagine what would make me go back to team iPhone. They'd have to have like a really specific exclusive app that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I generally try and have both systems. So, even with computers, I had both. However, right now, I am considering maybe just getting another phone to keep work and personal separate. The thing though is I don't have much going on personally, so it's like it doesn't make.
So you could use like you could get a Nokia flip phone for the personal stuff then. You don't need a smartphone.
Okay. So says the girl that sent me a Slack message at like 3 a.m. yesterday. Okay.
Well, I've been wondering when that would come up because I'll comment at like 4 a.m, like something really strange. Like at which point are people going to be like, Ellen?
Do you sleep?
I also forgot to introduce the author, and I want to now because of his profile picture. So his name is Pizza Panther, and he has the pink panther. He's a father web developer and pizza maker, and like that's all that matters is pizza maker.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
He's Pizza Panther. I also noticed that, and I appreciated it a lot. But I also appreciate the fact that below it, we have the book to call button, but it says book a call with Pizza Panther.
And like the fact that you're putting that in your writer bio, like he must make pizza from scratch. Like he makes and kneads the dough.
Oh, yeah.
Is my image. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got to be good pizza.
Yeah. He might have like his own stone fire pizza oven.
Oh yeah, he has got
That's what I was thinking.
Oven. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently that's a thing.
We should ask him.
Speaking of fires, the next article is about how AI can spot wildfires faster than humans.
Beautiful
Best segue of the
that
year
transition
award.
Gave me chills.
So this article is actually by someone I've known for a while. His name is Louis Bouchard. He's a TA at a computer vision program in a university in Montreal, and he runs this YouTube, an AI YouTube channel that it has grown really fast. So I kind of want to talk to him about how he did that so we can match. But he basically posts these videos about different AI research papers or different AI tools that big companies have built. And he explains it in a way that anybody can understand, which I think is really missing in like not just the YouTube space, but the AI space in general. So he does something really cool, and we publish his videos on Hacker Noon, and this is one of them. Ellen, did you take a look at this video at all? And what did you think about it?
I did. I thought it was fantastic. So what's happening here is they've developed a AI program which can recognize if there's a forest fire or starting. And so the reason why the AI is better than people is because it can monitor, various sections of the forest
Mhm.
24/7, and so it can recognize fires and a potential problem much faster than a human might, because humans get distracted. They might not necessarily be paying attention 24/7, and so the rate at which the AI catches things compared to humans, it's much, much faster. And this video is fascinating because they talk about how they actually made this happen, how they trained the artificial intelligence to be able to spot this. And one of the things, of course, when you're training artificial intelligence is the data is very important. So the type of data that you're training it on has to be very good quality data, because the better the data, the better the functioning of the AI. But what I
Mhm.
thought was particularly incredible was they had 20 people manually labeling 9,000 images as precisely as
Mhm.
possible. So
Mhm.
they'd have, photos of the fire starting, and they'd have to sort of outline the part that was the smoke or the fire, et
Yeah.
cetera. And so, yeah, he goes into a lot more detail, but I thought it was fantastic. Um,
Cool.
so,
Yeah, and like I worked in the AI training data industry for a while, and that process you just explained is actually a smaller. That's like a smaller project. Like if you look into like the projects that bigger companies do, 20 people and 9,000 images is nothing. There's some
mm,
project that have hundreds or thousands of people doing the same thing, so it's pretty
Mhm.
cool. But the reason I included this article in this week on Planet Internet is because it kind of shows what we can build and the benefits of kind of having a democratic data policy where we aren't so private about data and what people can build with it. So my question to you, Amy, is when you see like the positive impact that AI can do to the world based on the like enormous amounts of data we feed it, do you think like the positive impacts have a good enough trade-off to kind of like just accept the fact that we're not going to be as private with our data in the future?
That's really interesting. I was talking to someone on the podcast a little while ago about data for good initiatives. And I think that what you're talking about, the data behind this, like fire data or data of wildlife or whatever it is, that kind of data, we don't really care about our privacy issues, you know? Like, it's a different question if you're asking me about my personal data and
Mm-hmm.
what it's being used for in AI, which is to sell me things. So, in that sense, like, it's less kosher, I think, than using data for good in terms of
Mm-hmm.
helping with wildfires or whatever the cause might be. So, yeah, I think that's where
Yeah.
I'm falling on that.
I'm glad you said that because I prepared for such an answer.
Ah,
So, uh,
excellent.
a similar like use case with a similar training method would be to create an AI that could detect danger in public spaces. So, the AI could detect somebody pulling out a knife or pulling out a gun. But in order to do that, you have to feed the AI hours and hours of video of public spaces. And that's closer to the data you're talking about. Like if that's data of people walking around
Mm,
outside or people going shopping in the store. Um,
hmm.
so that's like pictures and images of you that are being fed to this thing, but it is for a good cause. Thinking about that, I could throw the question out to both you or Ellen. When you think about that, is that okay to kind of give up your privacy and your data if it's to build tools like that?
so I think when something is an ethical type of question, there needs to be a sort of a committee that has a certain set of points where they discuss like a sort of ethics
This is the
ethics
committee.
committee.
This is the committee. We are discussing this. This is
Well,
it.
Welcome.
it would be, it's a complicated thing. Ultimately, the decision would come down to whether the compromise in personal information outweighs the overall societal benefit
Mhm,
of using that personal information. And so, in the
mhm.
case of recognizing potentially violent criminals on the street, uh, you'd have to look at the rate of that happening within a
Hmm.
particular population, and the ways in which this data could be abused by the government or the legal system. So it's hard for me to just really kind of decide without having looked at various
Yeah.
data points about that information. The thing that I will say about fires, though, is there's quite a lot of fires right now in Ontario.
Mhm.
And the other day I woke up and everything smelled like smoke. And it's the craziest thing to take fresh air for granted,
Hmm.
even though, I actively move to an area with fresher air, like intentionally, but nonetheless, to open a window expecting proper,
Yeah.
just like a good smell to come in and have everything smell like smoke and fire is the craziest experience. So
Yeah.
definitely support this
That's
data usage.
that's scary. Like, is the
Yeah.
fire that close, or does it just travel that far? Like, you're not in a danger zone, but you can just smell the smoke from like 100 miles away, or what's the
Yeah.
situation?
So I don't think it was too close, the fire. The smoke, I think the smoke blew in this
I
direction.
see.
So
Has this
yeah, it
happened
was.
in your area before?
I imagine it probably has, but in all the time, like I've been here for almost, I think, like 9 or 10 years, and this is the
Mm.
first time that I've opened the door to my balcony,
Mm.
my mini balcony, and I've just been like,
Mm.
wow.
Okay. Because
So
in
Cool.
BC, where I'm from in Vancouver, it happens almost every year. We get a little bit of smoke fire coming from either California or northern BC. But right now, our province is in a state of emergency because there's so many wildfires burning right now. And I am in a similar boat. It's not so bad in the lower mainland yet when I open my window, but it's coming down, and there are hundreds of wildfires burning in BC right now, destroying thousands and thousands of acres of trees and land and houses. So I also strongly believe in this cause. But to
Yeah.
answer your original question, Lee Mark, and to give maybe a shorter, concise, more concise answer, I think no. Like I don't think that that people should be watching people, because anytime data involving people is being collected, you know that someone's using it for not good. So yeah, I don't think that that should be a thing. And I
I
think
see. I
like
see.
yeah, I agree with Ellen when it comes down to the level of the rate of attacks or whatever the
Yeah.
case, like the rate of X. And I don't
Yeah.
think that anything would be greater than the privacy of people in general.
I see. I see.
Hmm.
Uh, Speaking of that, basically, I wanted to give a good example of people using AI for good. And the next article is about a gray area example. I don't, we'll decide whether you want to call it good or bad, but it's basically about how TikTok uses data to keep people on the platform. So this article is called Hacking Your Mind with AI, The Case of Addictive TikTok. It's written by Edwin Lizowski. And it's basically about, as I said, how TikTok uses data to keep people on its platform. So, what did you think of this article, Amy?
It was interesting. I think that from what I know about TikTok, this makes a lot of sense because it's based off of the amount of time that people spend watching a particular TikTok, the number of likes that it gets, the number of shares that it gets, and the more obviously interaction and time spent on a particular TikTok, the better it's going to perform and push the algorithm up. And I think that TikTok has a really interesting algorithm because unlike the other social algorithms, it's very easy, not very easy, but it's much easier to have a viral video than it is on any other platform currently. So I think with the case of addiction, this makes sense. And yeah, I think we're going to continue to see that in their algorithm and the way that TikTok grows. And if you notice, if you're watching certain TikToks, you'll start to see that at the very end of the video, they put a little bit of oh shit, I think I should watch that again. So you have to watch the whole thing again. And that just keeps you watching and time spent on the video. So yeah.
Well, sorry, what do you mean by at the end they make a trigger that makes you feel like you want to watch it again?
Just they add a quick little 1 second clip at the very end of the video that you're wait, what was that? And I gotta go watch it again. So then you watch the whole 15-second video again just to watch that last second.
Interesting.
Some kind of hook.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. What about you, Ellen? What do you think of the way TikTok uses data?
So I am not a TikTok user at this time. However, what I have heard about TikTok is a number of different companies and legislators are concerned about the level of security there. This may very well tie into that, but I don't think, for this particular topic, I have too much to say. I'm not an expert on the TikTok.
I have a question,
Okay.
Limarc, about I guess because I think you have more knowledge of AI than I do. Do you know if using AI in a social algorithm is a common thing to do, or is this revolutionary?
That's an important point to discuss. So I think a lot of people, when they think of AI, they immediately think of something that self-learns based on all of the input you give it, and then kind of becomes this god machine. But it really isn't. When you look into AI, there's a reason why it says AI algorithms and AI models, is because it's just really a set of algorithms that trigger responses, and it kind of simulates the way our brains work, but it is just math at the end of the day. So when we talk about a AI algorithm of TikTok, we're just talking about a more complicated version of something as simple as a spam filter, but they're just using it for a different purpose. So no, it's not revolutionary at all, but it also depends on what their weights are on the algorithms, what they might be tracking and what they might be the predictions they might be finding from that data could be revolutionary. It could be better than YouTube's or Facebook's. The only people that would know is their data science team and how they would figure that out. But the idea of using AI to promote content on a social platform isn't revolutionary at all. But the way that you said they're doing it better than other people, they must be doing something better and something different than the YouTubes and the Instagrams of the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a completely different algorithm and different purpose, I guess. With Instagram, it's harder as a brand for you to show up on someone's feed. It's easier for you to show up as a individual on someone's feed. With TikTok, it makes it really easy for brands to become viral because it doesn't differentiate at this point.
Yeah, and that's important too, because if in your algorithm you have a stronger weight on the amount of followers a brand has, then that in that sense your algorithm is helping the rich stay rich, and it's harder for the poor to get rich, because it's harder for somebody who has 0 followers to get 1,000 than it is for somebody who has 1 million to get 1,100,000. So it depends on the kind of platform you want to build, right?
Yeah, and these nobody people, not just businesses, can also become viral. So yeah.
Yeah, but my question with this article was still the same. So like when you see what TikTok is doing, or not even just TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, whatever you have it, the way that they track your data and the way you use those platforms to influence what you see on those platforms, do you think that's okay because it makes you have a better experience on those platforms? Or do you feel like we've just gotten too complacent and we just feel like it's normal, so everyone's just going with the flow?
No, I think I like it. I think I like it to have the kind of content that I want to have because, my Instagram knows that I like dogs and bunnies, and like that's great, but it doesn't know my address, So I think I'm good with that.
I see. What about you, Ellen? How do you feel about any social media platform kind of pushing content based on your activity?
Well, I think that sometimes what that leads to is an echo chamber. So if you have one particular viewpoint and the only content that you're really seeing on these platforms that you're interacting with on a daily basis, you're really only getting one side of a particular story, and it makes it very easy to manipulate a population. I think it's wise to have to create access to multiple perspectives, different types of content, and this idea that, the big tech overlords are controlling essentially what people, large sections of the population, see and think is very dangerous. It could be used and it is used in all sorts of different questionable political motives. And so I think like anything, it's very questionable. It's questionable. Yeah.
Do you agree with that point, Amy, or you're kind of on a different camp?
No, I think I'm probably about in the same boat. Yeah.
I want to give a personal example of how the reason I believe that's so true, and it's because I moved to Japan. After coming to Japan, it became so apparent that whatever news is shown to you on the internet or on TV becomes your reality. And the reason I realized that is because the first time I came back to Canada after, I don't know, let's say a year or 2 years, there might be a song on the radio and I'd be like, who is this? And everybody around me would be like, how do you not know X person? So that's like a simple way of explaining it. But the more like interesting way is just in general news. Like there might be somebody like a friend from Canada that says, oh yeah, man, did you hear about this social thing that happened? And everybody in Canada knows about it. But because I'm in Japan, none of us care about it. So that reality doesn't exist for me. And it's super interesting that like what you see in the world and what's pushed on your Facebook feeds, your Instagram feeds, that is your reality, and it's strongly dependent on your location. And your reality can drastically change if all the news you're being pushed is right wing and all of the news you're being pushed is left wing, and you just see one side of a topic, and it becomes reality for you because that's all you see. And I think some people might say, oh, it's just social media, it doesn't matter. But I think, like it or not, social media is the common newspaper. Like that's what we use now. Like people might say, no, I don't listen to it, but you do. You see these things on social media, and people, it kind of basically becomes how they view the world.
It also depends who your friends are too, at least with Instagram, I believe, because then it curates your explore feed or whatever they call it now. So based on the things that your friends like, that's the kind of content that gets shown to you sometimes too. So it also depends who you're following. And another point on that is like with not just with like social issues, but for me personally, I feel like because I'm so involved in the tech world and all of my friends are in tech and everything, like sometimes I feel there's like pressure because I don't know enough or I'm not good enough in tech. But then I think like I meet other people who are not in tech at all, and they're like, how do you know so much? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's because my whole like social network and circle is all in tech. So everybody knows about tech, but then there's people who don't know anything about tech, and I'm like, I know way more than them. So yeah, it also depends on that too, I think.
For sure.
Go tech.
Yeah.
Speaking of tech, Amy's been talking a lot about a tech billionaire that recently went to space. She has, I think you have a few things to say about
I do.
our new astronaut. What's the problem, Amy? What's going on?
Oh, what's the problem? Did you guys see the video of them in space?
I saw the launch, but I didn't see like the in shuttle video. Is it funny? Is it good?
No, it's not funny. It's like hurtful to my soul. They are like floating around there, and like Jeff Bezos goes to like the 18-year-old and he's like, hey, throw me that, like, see if you can catch this in your mouth. And he like throws him a piece of candy or whatever, and he catches it, and then Jeff Bezos like, yeah, they're like, oh my god, this is so much fun, we're billionaires. And I'm like, oh god, the worst. But what I am excited about is that within the people that went to space was an 80-year-old woman, which is very cool because she's now the oldest woman to have become an astronaut. So that's exciting for women in tech.
She can do that, but I can't ride a roller coaster. That's great.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then the 18-year-old. And then, I mean, they were just like throwing ping pong balls around. It was super obnoxious. Go to Instagram Blue Origin and look up the video. Yeah. Because it's offensive.
Hold on. This is weird.
No, actually go to their page. Go to their page.
Which page?
Yeah,
Blue
that
Origin?
Page.
Yeah.
And then go to their IGTV. Okay, and then that one. We have to watch this.
Well, someone should describe what's happening on screen.
Okay. They're floating around in space, and they're literally just like, oh my god, this is so much fun. Look at us. Woo! And then they're, now Jeff Bezos is holding hands with Wally, the 80-year-old woman who went to space. They're hugging. They're floating upside down. I need to see the part where they have the ping pong balls. It's the ping pong balls that really offend me. Like, of course you brought ping pong balls up to space to have like a little throw around. It's the part that offends me where they throw candy or whatever into each other's mouths. Like they're just having a party up there while everybody else down here is poor, and there are people who are starving, and there are people who need vaccines, and they're just throwing candy into each other's mouth in space and just saying, oh my god, look how fun this is. I hate it.
Someone absolutely needs to take everything that Amy was saying and do the audio overlay over that video.
Oh, that would be great. That would be a
absolutely.
Great TikTok.
Yes.
Oh my god, look at me in space.
And people need vaccines, and they're just floating. Oh my god.
Yeah, what about the social distancing on that shuttle of Blue Origin? What's going on with that? No?
And also everybody is calling it the space penis, which is delightful.
It does look
like
very
a
similar.
Yeah, like I don't think I have as much inherent hate just because of like screw the patriarchy and the bourgeois. Like that's not my hate. It's more like what an unbelievable waste of money and time. Like, if you're gonna do it, why only 11 minutes? Why don't you stay there for a couple hours? You're already up there. Like you've already taken the risk to get up there. I'm pretty sure launching is like the most dangerous part. Like why stay for 11 minutes? Go longer. Or it costs millions of dollars to do that. Like, couldn't you like launch a satellite at the same time or something? Like, couldn't you have made it useful?
Yeah. Yep. I don't know.
Yeah, but we'll never know until we reach that level of billionaireism. So just wait. You'll get there, and then we'll find out why he did it. Perhaps. Amy's triggered.
Yeah, when Amy becomes a billionaire, she'll be like, maybe I don't hate them so much anymore.
No, yeah. Actually, that 18-year-old son of a millionaire is kind of cute. So if you want to.
There you go. There you have it, folks. Not all billionaires.
I see.
I'm just kidding.
I see. All right. Well,
Awesome.
thanks for joining us on This Week on Planet Internet. Once again, I'm Limarc, your host, joined by Amy, Tom, and Ellen Stevens. And thanks for joining, and see you next time.
Bye.
Au
Peace out.
revoir.